Hello and welcome to the Two Man Booth, your weekly scheduled podcast on the crazy world of professional wrestling. With me, Jonathan.
And me, Adam. And we will start this week as we always do with the news. And I think the first thing we need to talk about today is the big news coming out of New Japan. And that is the fact that at Dominion we will be seeing Kazuchika Okada versus Chris Jericho for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Chris Jericho made his intentions known at the latest Wrestling Dontaku show after Okada defeated Sonata to retain the Heavyweight Championship and made it very known that he is going to win.
Yeah, I first saw the news about this break this morning. It was reported by the Wrestling Observer. Obviously, it had happened on the New Japan show. I think this is a massive deal both for New Japan Pro Wrestling and for AEW, who obviously Chris Jericho is going to be a major part of moving forward. First off, it just gives New Japan another big start to continue to be around their company, and Jericho has proven to draw very well for New Japan and to do very well for them wherever they put him and whoever they put him with. And I think this is pretty much, apart from Tanahashi, the biggest match that Jericho has left to have in New Japan. I think this will be fantastic. It'll be a great match. It'll be a challenge for Okada because he may have to work a much slower style to help Jericho out, but if anyone can do that, that's Kazuchika Okada. And for AEW, I think it shows that that's going to be a relationship moving forward, and that's a very, very big deal for All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, I think Jericho's always said that it's part of his deal that he could negotiate with New Japan. But the fact that All Elite are prepared to use him, does that eventually open the door to maybe using Omega because he's almost as big a star nowadays as Jericho is? And then does that lead to some kind of relationship going forward? Don't necessarily think this is a sign that relationship is starting or anything like that, but it's certainly a good sign that things maybe could progress down that line at some point in the future.
Yeah, New Japan would be silly not to try and get Omega back in as well.
Totally agree. And we've also had official confirmation of what we've known for a while in WWE announcing that they will be returning to Saudi Arabia on the 7th of June.
Right.
I don't want to say too much about this since we kind of try to keep this podcast sort of apolitical, but we have to mention this, and it is obviously a big deal for the company. The usual suspects will be there, as well as Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, and Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, I'm not going to go deeply into what I think about the decision for them to actually do this. I know my own beliefs and I know my own thoughts about it, and I'll sort of keep that to one side. The fact that Goldberg's coming back is cool, although at the same time I'm not sure that I really want to see him. I was kind of okay with him having his run and then that being it. But I know for a fact that'll draw some casual fans in who remember him back from WCW. So, you know, they've at least got some major names involved in this show. And I have so much more that I would want to say about it, and maybe we'll talk about it at another time, but I don't think this is the time for it. But moving on.
Yeah. As an aside as well, and take it with a pinch of salt given the two individuals involved, but Dana White has said Brock Lesnar has retired from UFC for good.
Dana is just a marketer, though. I don't believe it.
And
not in a
it's
bad
Brock,
way.
It's Brock as well.
Not in a bad way, but I don't believe a word Dana says. Dana is a self-promoter. He's very, very good at promoting his brand, and that just keeps Brock's name associated with UFC. There's no ways. I would be surprised if he never fought again.
I'd be surprised if he did fight again, if I'm being honest.
Given
his age. But I just think this is Dana putting the ball back in Brock's court almost to say, look, you've been using us to get better deals with WWE year on year for years now. I'm basically saying you're retired, so you can't use us as leverage. So if you want to use us as leverage, you're actually going to have to take the conversation seriously and seriously talk about coming back.
Very fair point.
But I don't think Brock ever will. I think he's realised now if he goes in there against a Daniel Cormier or somebody like that, he'll just get murdered.
The problem is I have very little desire to still see Brock wrestle. I've always liked Brock. I liked him a lot more than you did back in his original run. But since he's come back, I really liked him at first. His match with Cena was brilliant. He's had some great matches here and there. I just don't like what Brock has become and what Brock now stands for.
Totally agree. And Dean Ambrose is no more. His Twitter basically showed a video of John Moxley's return, essentially.
Awesome.
It was a really well-produced video. It looked really cool.
It did.
And it was just a nice little sort of I'm back kind of thing. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him from here on out.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, I haven't seen, but there's a lot of people that have hinted that there were some AEW hints in the video throughout. I must be honest, I've seen the video once, and I haven't seen those hints. I'll have to watch it again maybe before next week's podcast. But if there are hints that he's going to AEW, then great news for them.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a huge pickup for them. And with that, we move on to Monday Night Raw. We opened with Alexa Bliss. She introduced the 4 Raw participants for the Money in the Bank ladder match: Strowman, Ricochet, McIntyre and Corbin. Corbin says he's going to win the Money in the Bank ladder match for the second time. Ricochet reminds him the last time he won the briefcase, he failed with his cash-in. Corbin responds by mocking Ricochet, but Drew says he has a point. He says Corbin stole his opportunity and blew it last week. He cuts Ricochet off next and essentially calls Ricochet a child. He promises to drop Ricochet where he stands and then promises the same to Corbin. And then Strowman basically tells everybody to shut up and proposes a tag match for later.
This was okay. It was an okay first segment. One thing I will say is, and I know I'm nitpicking here, but like I think it's nitpick time with WWE. If Ricochet is going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match as a singles competitor, why on earth did he lose last week to Bobby Roode? Or sorry, Robert Roode, because full names are Heelish.
Yeah, and Robert Roode wasn't even on the show.
Just why?
It's what happens when you book so week to week.
And again, I know I'm saying this over and over again, but it's just so formulaic. Like
totally.
I am so looking forward to the time when they finally, like, the format worked. It had always worked. And we know it had. The Attitude Era was built off of that format. You have the first promo for about 20 minutes. But my God, is it boring now. I can't wait for them to finally ditch that and, you know what, start a show with, and I know this is going to shock you,
A wrestling match.
but start it with a wrestling match on a wrestling show?
That would be insane.
That would be stupid, right?
Yeah. So Ricochet and Braun obviously faced off with Drew and Corbin when we came back from the break. The heels isolated Ricochet for an age, eventually got dumped to the floor. Braun comes to check on him and Corbin sneaks behind to hit him, but Braun no-sells it. He chases Corbin all the way around the ring but ends up eating a claymore. This allows more heat on Ricochet, but he finally fights back and gets the hot tag to Braun. He runs wild until he charges straight into the post. Ricochet tags himself in, but Drew gets the upper hand. He sets up for the claymore, but Corbin then tags himself in. He goes for a choke slam, but Ricochet flips out and tags to Braun. Drew decks his own partner before Braun hits the power slam and Ricochet the shooting star for the win. This was lethargic and overly long.
Yeah, far too long. The right team won, but it was a match that didn't need to happen. I understand that they're building towards Money in the Bank, but it didn't need to happen at all, and it was just a bit boring and bland.
And it's been interesting over recent weeks how they've just
Run out of ideas.
Well, no, they've done everything they can to protect Drew, even though they always have him lose. So tonight, his team lost, but he got to deck his partner, so it wasn't his fault. There was a SmackDown a few weeks ago when he teamed up with Cesaro and Sheamus, where before the commercial break, they had him taken out into the crowd, so he wasn't even visually there when they lost. Like, they've been doing it week after week where his team will lose, but he will lose, but he's always not at fault. Like last week in the triple threat match, he hit the finishing move and then Corbin dumped him out of the ring. They're so desperate to protect him. But guess what? If you're desperate to protect somebody,
Give him wins.
And push them, give them a win.
And don't have him, because he loses, if you notice, he loses all the time in big matches.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not a massive Drew McIntyre fan. I think he's a decent mid-carder.
He's the Arsenal of professional wrestling.
But I wouldn't be pushing him to the level he is. But for some reason they see that in him, so if they do, push him.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Anyway, next up we had the Usos versus the Good Brothers. The Usos sang their entrance. Don't strip everything away that makes them awesome, please.
Don't ruin them. Just keep them the way they are.
Anderson and Gallows showcased to Drew and Braun how to do a heat segment. Jimmy landed an enziguri on Gallows and got the hot tag to Jay. Jay hit a Samoan drop and hip attack for 2. He missed a splash in the corner though, and Anderson hit him with a spinebuster for 2. They went for the magic killer, but Jimmy broke it up with the super kick on Anderson and sent him to the outside. A double super kick on Gallows followed before one Uso hit a suicide dive on Anderson and the other hit the superfly splash on Gallows for the win. This was fun.
It was fun. It's amazing how Gallows and Anderson are suddenly competitive now.
Well, apparently they're on Raw as well, because apparently they were on SmackDown
Yeah,
before.
I was literally thinking that as you were talking. I was like, hang on. Like, I'm sure they're SmackDown.
So the Superstar Shakeup continues in what are we in now? Week 75?
Superstar Shakeup, we have no idea what we're doing edition.
Yes. So, in a segment straight out in 1999 for the second week in a row, we see footage from earlier as the Usos secretly filmed Dash Wilder shaving Scott Dawson's back. You see, last week, we found out that a woman's success must directly correlate with who she's sleeping with. And this week, we found out that shaving another man's back makes you gay, and being gay is apparently bad. I hate this company sometimes.
It's just...
I hate this company.
Yeah, it just... I'm running out of words for how offensive and tasteless they are.
So, moving on swiftly, Miz TV is next, and his guest is Bobby Lashley, noticeably without Leo Rush, who I didn't put it in the news because it's not been confirmed, but apparently does have some heat with the company.
Supposedly he's had heat since he got to the company, though. Like, he's had heat for such a long time now, and I'm not being funny. Yeah, he may have heat, and I get that, but he's very good in his role, so don't take him off TV. Like, yeah, you may be annoyed at him, but don't take one of your few entertaining promo workers off of the show. Makes no sense.
And Bobby kind of flopped in this promo. I don't know what's happened to him since he left TNA, because he was a good promo in TNA.
He didn't have a script, I believe.
Yeah, well, either way, this segment was not great. Lashley spoke in the third person, and Miz mocked him for it, which was ironic. Miz says Lashley has all the talent in the world, but has never fulfilled his potential. Lashley points to his accomplishments over the past 12 months and asks Miz what he's done. Miz lists his own accomplishments and says he's an overachiever. Look at his wife. Lashley mocks Miz for losing to Shane and says it's no wonder his dad thinks he's worthless. This leads to a brawl where Miz gets the upper hand.
Yep.
This was a segment that happened.
This is a segment that happened for no reason, with no backstory. It just...
and
there's no coherent storyline anymore. Like, week to week, I have no idea what I'm going to get. And not in a WCW Monday Nitro kind of way, in like a... This is clueless, what on earth's going on?
So you mean not in the WCW Monday Nitro 1997 kind of way, but more in the WCW Monday Nitro 2000 kind of a way?
Totally, yeah. There are a lot of parallels, have you noticed, at the moment, between the bad days of Nitro and this current product of Monday Night Raw.
I'm always reticent to say it's as bad as WCW got, because I'm not sure I've ever seen a company get that bad, but...
It's TNA level.
This is certainly the worst I've ever seen this company booked.
Yeah, it's like TNA level at the moment.
Anyway, we came back from break and it was Lashley versus Miz. Miz dominated the match until Shane's music hit. Several distractions from Shane fail, but as Miz is hitting some woeful kicks, Shane has a picture of his dad put up on the screen. Miz swings at Shane but misses, and Lashley hits the spear for the win.
Baby faces are morons.
Well, at least like Miz kind of fought the distraction off a few times, and at that point I don't blame him for swinging at Shane. It was more the fact that like Lashley's meant to be this big tough dude, and Miz is being distracted by Shane McMahon and still like just dominated the whole match. He took like 98% of this match, and he's laying in these yes kicks and they look awful, and it's just...
It kicks.
Miz's promo work since he's been a babyface I've been quite fond of.
Same.
His in-ring work last week was phenomenal, but just stop training him as a badass babyface. He can have Miz be a babyface, and I think he's actually now in a place where he can be a really good babyface.
He's the bread and butter babyface.
He can't be a good badass babyface. That's not his role.
He is the bread and butter babyface. Like, he's like, you know, like when Ziggler was babyface, he was just like a bread and butter babyface, to his detriment. But that is what Miz needs to be, just a normal babyface that's now a good guy.
So post-match, Shane mockingly beats Miz down, but Miz fights back until Lashley destroys him. This allows Shane to work him over with some truly awful-looking strikes, like possibly the worst strikes I've ever seen Shane throw. And given the strikes Shane usually throws, I should put it into some context of how bad the strikes actually were. And then his poorly applied, like, inverted triangle thing, before saying he's the best in the world. Ugh.
Yeah, so this show's been bad so far, hasn't it?
It's been awful so far.
Yeah.
So, we get the Viking Raiders versus the Lucha House Party next. Lucha House Party attacked the War Raiders during their entrance, but back off until the bell rings, which was weird. This allows the Raiders to dominate. Eric takes Metalik out with a shotgun knees, and they then hit the pop-up power slam on Kalisto for the win. They attack Dorado post-match and lay him out with the German suplex springboard lariat combo.
So I think we can confirm heels now.
Yeah, I think they've definitely been heels since they've come up. I don't mind this. Like, Lucha House Party are kind of there to serve this kind of purpose.
They're enhancement talent on the tag team division, yeah.
Obviously, they're grooming the Raiders to face Hawkins and Ryder at some point. So, keeping them strong, having them squash people, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So, Alexa is back to introduce the Raw competitors for the Women's Money in the Bank match. She introduces Natalya, Dana and Naomi, and they all argue, and Alexa buries them for a lack of respect for the final competitor before introducing herself as the final competitor. Naomi wants her in a singles match tonight. Alexa refuses, but Naomi tricks her with some schoolyard level insults. She also has the world's weirdest, fakest and most annoying laugh. Just FYI.
Women argue.
Yes.
That's again, like, why can't they get out of this pattern of thinking that that's all that women do? Just fight each other and bitch at each other.
And as the show has completely fallen off a cliff, we then took
no
another
cliff.
trip to the Firefly Funhouse.
Hang on. There was no cliff. It never actually went up.
No, I didn't say it went up. I just said it went straight and then it went up.
Yeah, like because it was never high up to begin with.
No.
We've not started from a good point.
We've not.
We've
This is a very low cliff.
What we've effectively done is,
falling into an abyss.
You know how there were like mountains like in the oceans?
Yes.
We've been walking along the bottom of one of those,
And then we found a hole in the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happened. Anyway.
So, Firefly Funhouse. It was weird and it sucked. Much like this entire show. And sociopath is the word of the day.
Sociopath is the word of the day. Yeah, like I said last week, I wasn't sure whether I liked it or didn't like it. And then I'd wait and see. I didn't like this one. I still think it's got potential. And the Bray may make it work. That's easy to say. But I have no faith in them to make it work. I think Bray might perform the character very well, which to be fair he is. Like, Bray is performing the character very well.
The character sucks.
I just don't like the content very much. And obviously you can see who the different characters are meant to be. You know, the witch's sister Abigail, and obviously I hope, like, if I was going to bring Wyatt back, I mean, fantasy booking head on here, but if I was going to bring Wyatt back and I wanted to refresh his character, I would have had him come back with Sister Abigail as his manager and, you know, choose someone who can be her, and I think that would have freshened up his act more than this rebrand of Wyatt.
Not that I've ever been the biggest Wyatt fan, because, you know, I've never bought into him really as much as you have. But you know what they should have done if they wanted to bring him back and give him a fresh start? Bring him back as a babyface, because they tried to do it twice and it's been scuppered both times, but both times the guy's been so over.
Yeah.
And he's never got that full babyface run. All they had to do was bring him back in his usual gimmick as a babyface.
The amount of times we, like, even though we don't like him, I mean, I do like him, but I know you don't. Like, the amount of times we've had conversations where we've been like he could be like this generation's Taker in terms of his character.
Well, we did some fantasy booking a little while ago, didn't we?
We did.
And we ended up, like, we were going into the shake-up and we thought we'd build Bray up a little bit because we were going to give him the SmackDown, and as it turned out, we built him up so well, in our minds anyway, that we kind of were sad that we were sending him to SmackDown. Yeah,
because we had him come out and we had Sister Abigail come back. I think we had Chelsea Green.
Yes, I think that's who we put in there.
Yeah, be Sister Abigail, and that would really freshen up his act, we thought. But
yeah, definitely. So next up we had Alexa versus Naomi. Alexa tried to stall early by tying her shoelaces, but Naomi kept attacking her. This story, for some reason, continued throughout the match.
Babyface.
Eventually, Naomi pulled Alexa's shoes off. Bliss argued with the ref about this and was caught with the rear view and then the split-legged moonsault for the win.
That's just atrocious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, also, why does that? I mean, I know Alexa's stalling, but why does repeatedly trying to attack her make her a babyface?
I have no idea. I just didn't get anything about this match.
Can you
I didn't
imagine?
get really why it was happening. I didn't get why Alexa was tying her shoelaces, why she seemingly as an adult is incapable of tying her shoelaces, because she dominated the match so much she had about 17 opportunities to tie them properly. Like, I don't get why that... When you're sitting backstage as an agent or whoever came up with this match,
through that.
and you're talking through the match and saying, right, Alexa, Naomi, you got about 6 minutes tonight. I know what you're going to do. Alexa, you're not going to be able to tie your shoelaces. That's going to be the story for the whole match. You're going to keep trying to do it, but you're going to fail. And then Naomi's going to pull your shoes off. You're going to be really annoyed at the referee for some reason. And then Naomi's going to beat you. Like, who comes up with this?
Most importantly, can you imagine being the talent sat there, listening to that and not looking at each other and just going, what the hell?
Yeah. Beyond me. Absolutely beyond me.
I really do feel like this company's losing it. Like, genuinely losing it, and it's getting concerning now.
Yeah,
Actually concerning.
We'll come on to concerning a bit later.
Oh, yes, we will.
So,
where we were right.
A rude interviewer caught up with Ray and Dominic backstage. She talked about Ray's recent troubles. He said he let everyone down at Mania, but tonight he's going to prove he's the better man. Becky Lynch came out to a great reaction. Commentary hyped up her pulling double duty on Money in the Bank. A rude interviewer came into the ring and asked her why she wants to defend both belts in one night. Becky says she's the only one. She only knows how to fight. She says she doesn't care about the odds. A year ago, nobody thought she could main event Mania, but she did. People thought Ronda was unbeatable until Becky beat her. She didn't make history by dodging everyone. She did it by beating everyone. She has Charlotte's number, and Lacey's beating is due at Money in the Bank. We see footage of Lacey beating down Becky last week. She calls out Lacey, who obliges. Lacey says she warned Becky last week not to let her emotions get the better of her, and Becky didn't listen, so she's done talking. And with that, they brawl. Officials come down to separate them, but they keep breaking free. This was a fun, chaotic brawl, and easily the best thing on the show so far.
Agreed.
Not that says much.
No. I quite liked it as well. I thought it was pretty decent. There was one bit, mind, where it genuinely looked like Becky got like legitimately elbowed in the head.
I think that was when she broke free and Lacey just broke free just before Becky was getting to her and swung a right hand.
Yeah.
She caught her right in the face.
Yeah, she caught her really hard. I was really concerned that I was going to like bust Becky open or something like that. But yeah, this was easily the best thing on the show, which doesn't mean a lot because it still wasn't like amazing. But it was more than
good though. Yeah.
It was more than decent, and I enjoyed this segment. Mm-hmm. It's the most I've probably enjoyed anything that Lacey's done ever.
Yeah, true. So next up we had Hawkins and Ryder versus the Revival. Revival got the jobber entrance. The crowd started chanting "Shave your back" as Corey rightfully buried them. Revival worked a nice heat segment until Ryder countered a suplex with a neck breaker. He tried to tag Hawkins in, but Dawson tagged in and knocked Hawkins off the apron. Ryder and Dawson then bumped skulls and Dawson fell into a cover, but at 2, Ryder turned it into a crucifix for the pin and the win. This was kind of there. Like, I thought Revival and Ryder and Hawkins worked well together, but there was nothing massively to write home about. The finish was a bit weird, but I guess in a weird way, given what they've done with them on the show. They were trying to protect the Revival so that it wasn't like a clean win. I mean, it was a clean win, but it was like it was a crucifix when Dawson had nearly won himself. So
yeah. There wasn't much need for this match, though.
No, there wasn't. I think
like Usos beat Revival last week.
Yeah,
like there was no need for them to now be facing the tag champs.
Yeah,
they've had their rematch. They lost their rematch, and there was no need for the match.
Yeah, I feel like the Usos and the Revival is going to be an ongoing thing.
Yeah,
but they didn't want them facing off tonight, so
they just threw the tag champs in there.
Yeah. But it is Hawkins and Ryder, so you can kind of get that. And you know what? For once, the champs actually won a match.
Yeah,
like, and how many champions in WWE actually win?
Yeah, very rarely.
Yeah.
And Hawkins and Ryder and Revival do appear to have quite a decent amount of chemistry.
Yeah,
they bring it together. Like
definitely.
Every match they've had so far together has been more than decent. Just doesn't get any fanfare, or it's not noticed by anyone because it's not promoted or pushed or valued by the company
or the crowd. Really,
yeah.
Crowd, as much as I thought this was a fine match, the crowd was dead. Apart from chanting "Shave your back."
Yeah, which
sucked. Yeah.
Homophobia is okay in 2019.
Well, it is Kentucky. We see Miz backstage and he is approached by Sarah Schreiber. She asks him a stupid question. Sigh, she didn't last very long, did she?
No.
Miz wants Shane at Money in the Bank inside a steel cage.
Sigh.
Yes.
I have less than no desire to see this.
Negative desire.
Yes.
Sami Zayn was out next. He says when he was injured, he did a lot of soul searching and he had time to study psychology, and it really helped him make sense of the crowd. He talks about psychological entitlement and mocks the crowd. He says they've been fed the lie that the customer is always right and mocks their intelligence. He says if they don't get exactly what they want, they throw a tantrum. He talks about seeing a fan with his kid at the airport and he refused to sign an autograph for this kid. It didn't make him feel good, it made him feel sick because it meant that this 5-year-old had already been taught that he was owed something. Sami believes that 3 shoulder surgeries and 17 years of 5-star classics is more than enough, so from now on the fans will get whatever he gives them. He asks the crowd if they want him to quit. They cheer, naturally. He says quitting would feel great, but holding the fans accountable will feel even better. He's taking the power back. Another great promo from Sammy, but
He needs
he
direction.
badly needs a program to sink his teeth into now. Like, there's only so long he can come out and do
And rag on the
different
crowd.
variants on a theme, and every promo has been amazing. His delivery's been amazing. Actually, the content within it has been quite good and different, and has allowed Sammy almost to create a niche for himself in that his
And the
character is
red card
actually
as
something
well.
he is, not just generic heel number 73, which is what most people are. He's out there cutting promos which are very different, even though he's healing on the fans. But I just feel like he needs a program now.
Who would you put him with?
Well, I thought the idea of Cedric coming out last week was quite a cool one, because like Cedric being with Sammy would have given Cedric some amazing matches to get him over with the crowd, and it would have been somebody that Sammy would have obviously beaten, because they're not going to see Cedric as a top level guy. He's never going to be that guy. Best he's going to be a mid carder.
Yeah.
So it would have given Sammy somebody to elevate but also beat.
Fair enough.
So
I
that's-
wouldn't mind seeing it. I'm not sure it's something that they'll do though.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But I have no idea what they will do at all.
Week to week.
Yeah. Shane accepted Mrs. Challenge on Twitter. And then we had Ray versus
2019 World of Professional Wrestling.
Yes,
Here we are.
We saw a tweet on Raw. Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So next was Ray versus Joe. Joe cuts a promo before the match saying Dominic is ashamed of his dad, and if Ray was a good dad, he would have bought Dominic a mask to hide his shame. He blames Ray for his defeat to AJ last week and says what he did at Mania will pale in comparison to what he will do tonight. The match started. Ray went for the baseball slide splash, but Joe got the knees up. Joe missed the big boy senton as Ray got the shine. Ray hit a 619 to the midsection, but Joe blocked the regular 619, and though Ray kicked him into the corner, he was then caught with an ST Joe. Joe went for a Uranage, but Ray countered with a sunset flip pin for the win. The finish looked absolutely awful and totally unbelievable, as Joe just had to lie there while Ray kind of sort of sat on top of him. It was just one of the most unrealistic pinfalls I've ever seen.
Yes,
the
it was.
match itself was fine,
Yeah.
but the finish, of all the finishes he could do, like, give him a small package, give him something that he doesn't have to like use his 10% body weight to try and hold Joe down. And Joe's literally just lying there looking up at the sky going, I've not been an idiot here, so I really should be trying to kick out, but I can't try and kick out because he's not actually putting any pressure on us.
Yeah.
It
It's
was
just
not
awful.
a good finish.
It's just awful. Yeah. The match itself was good though.
And Joe lost again.
Oh, Joe loses all the time though.
Just
But the match itself was good.
Yeah, it was fun while
Yeah.
it lasted. It was a fun sprint.
Yeah.
So Michael Cole is conducting our contract signing and introduces AJ and Rollins. Cole asks AJ what a victory would mean to him. He says SmackDown was the house that he built, but he's on Raw now. He says he likes Seth, but he's got something AJ wants, the Universal title. He subtly mentions he'll do anything he has to get it. He says people have been saying for years that Seth is the new AJ, but the hard truth is that Seth will never be AJ Styles. Seth says he never wanted to be the next AJ Styles. He wanted to be the first Seth freaking Rollins. He says AJ will have to be better than phenomenal to beat him. AJ intimates that Seth is less than 100%. The crowd chants burn it down. AJ says they will burn it down, but then he'll rebuild it. He says Seth's buddies are gone, and after WrestleMania he's not sure how much Seth has left in the tank. But AJ says he's...
That made no sense. Sorry, I know I've just interrupted you massively, but...
No,
Him having nothing left in the tank made no sense. He literally beat Brock in a couple of minutes.
true.
That made no sense to me at all.
But not in the context of the story they're telling. That's what I saw at WrestleMania, but not in the context of what they're telling. Their idea is that Seth went through hell at WrestleMania because Brock beat him down on the outside a little bit before the match started. So the idea is that Rollins actually went through a massively hard-fought match at Mania.
He didn't though. He didn't though.
Yeah, but that's the story they're
Yeah,
telling.
I know, but he didn't. And anyone that watches wrestling can see that wasn't really a hard-fought match.
Anyway,
Sorry.
AJ says he's ready to go right now. AJ says he's a bulldog that won't rest until he's the new Universal Champion, and he signs. Seth says they're similar in a lot of ways, but different in others. Like, for example, he beat Brock Lesnar. He signs too as AJ picks up the belt. He hands it back and offers his hand, but Seth chooses to raise the belt instead, and AJ decks him. Rollins gets the upper hand and hits a suicide dive, but he turns his back and AJ manages to fight back and sends Rollins through a table with the phenomenal forearm. I thought this was a really good segment. Contract signings are way overdone, but this was a really good segment. It was two baby faces, so I was interested to see how they did it. AJ definitely played
The
like
heel.
a subtle heel,
Yeah.
which was good and I really liked. And I thought the brawl at the end was good. Rollins looked a bit weird turning his back, but apart from that, I thought it was a really well done segment.
Yeah, I think it was good. If you're going to do wrestling cliches, do them well. And this was done well. So this was, the second decent thing on the show?
Yeah. Second or third, something like that.
Yeah.
Not good.
So
Raw
let's
was
discuss.
a rough show to get through this week.
Oh, it was boring.
There were isolated, entertaining things, but for the most part, this show absolutely blew.
Yeah, it was both bland and boring.
And bad.
And rushed.
And annoying.
All in
and
one.
Frustrating.
God, it was dreadful. This was an absolutely dreadful show. So boring. Like, there was nothing that was outright...
I think this is one of the worst episodes of Monday Night Raw I've
ever seen. Yeah, there was nothing that was outright... you'd look at it, you wouldn't go like, God, that's just awful. But it was just all so boring and overdone and just...
There's just everything was bad. I get what you're saying. There was not outright
what I mean?
bad,
Stands
from
out.
a booking's perspective, I get what you're saying. Like there was booking that was weird and I didn't agree with, but there was nothing where I went, oh my God, why is
Can't
David
believe we've done
Arquette
that.
your world champion type of thing. But a lot of what was on the show, and even the wrestling, considering the roster they've got, some of the wrestling on this show sucked.
It was just so boring. Anyway, so how was that reflected in the numbers, Adam?
Yeah, so Raw's awful show was rewarded with a non-holiday record low this week. The show averaged just 2.16 million viewers, dropping 9% from last week's already horrible number. The drop-off was significant too, although even Hour 1 didn't draw great, averaging just 2.34 million viewers, with 2.24 million for Hour 2 and a record low non-holiday hour for Hour 3 of just 1.90 million.
They've managed it.
This was a horrendous 29.4% drop from last year. Awful numbers.
Yeah, they're there though. We said, didn't we, they're going to be below 2?
It's how long before the whole show's below 2?
Pretty soon. I think it's coming. Within,
this is the time of
within
year,
weeks.
This is the time of year where it drops off, and especially as the NBA playoffs go on and become sort of further into the thing, they draw bigger and bigger numbers, and they're down this year, but not as much as
nowhere
WWE
near.
is.
Nowhere near.
I think the match that was on Monday night, the Golden State game was the late again.
It was
against
the
Rockets.
Bucks.
Was it the Bucks? Was it?
Yeah, it was the Bucks.
That game was down 18% from the same time last year,
But still drew better.
which is significant, but not 30% down, which is essentially what this is. And that means that essentially almost 1 in 3 people that were watching last year are not watching this year.
Yeah.
So
But
if you got 2 friends who watch wrestling, in theory, one of them has stopped over the past year.
Yeah, but it wasn't amazing last year, but holy hell, it is so much worse this year.
I'd love to know what the reasons are for this massive drop off, because the bookings got worse. I will say we're saying this is the worst book the company's ever been.
The bookings got worse,
but I don't see how it's dropped off so significantly. There's got to have been something that's driven people
It is
away.
much more boring. It is much more boring.
It is, but I can't see you driving 30% of the audience away just going from really bad booking to catastrophically bad booking.
No, but it's the fact that it is more boring. At least last year, from what I remember, it was not as boring as this to sit through and watch.
I just don't see how it's that much more boring than last year. Last year, for me, was not exciting either. And you know what? Some of the shows recently have not been that bad. I mean, this one was awful, don't get us wrong, and last week's was not good. But there's been a couple of decent Raws here and there. It's not like... I remember when the first went to 3 hours, every single Raw was awful for a while. And then they kind of got used to it a bit, and some Raws were good, some Raws were bad. This year, it's been hit and miss. But I don't think it's been so bad that... the number should have dropped this significantly.
If we weren't recording this podcast, is there anything on the show that would actively make you tune in?
Oh, no, I wouldn't be watching full episodes of Raw, but I haven't been watching full episodes of Raw until we started doing this podcast for about 6 years.
That's what I mean. There was nothing. There was
yeah,
nothing that's going to make people tune in.
I was driven away 6 years ago, not this year. It's just...
But a casual fan.
Yeah, but why this year? What has been about it? It doesn't seem to have dropped off that much to me. There's got to be something else. Is it to do with the Saudi show? Because the numbers did start to drop last November, just after the last Saudi show. Was it Roman going down? Did that drive a lot of fans away that supported him and they've not come back when he's come back?
I think they've just run out of ideas.
Well, I know they've run out of ideas. They ran out of ideas years ago. But it's the significance of the drop that's confusing me, and I'd love to know people's reasons why.
In fact, yeah, if you're listening and you have recently stopped watching as much Like, please tell us why. Like, what is the reason that you're stopping watching? Because we're watching because we have to. But I know that I could list the reasons. Maybe we will do next week. Like the reasons why I would stop watching if we didn't have to for this podcast.
Yeah. And with that, I think we'll move on to SmackDown Live. We opened with Michael Cole in the ring, and he brought out Kofi Kingston. He talks about the odds Kofi faced on his route to Mania. He throws to a video of the Elimination Chamber match and the Gauntlet match from SmackDown. Kofi says you get highs and lows in life and you have to fight through the lows. He says he couldn't have done it without Big E and Xavier. Cole says seeing Kofi win at Mania was amazing and shows video of it. The crowd chants he would deserve it. Cole brings up KO and shows footage from last week when Owens turned his back on Kofi. Kofi says the New Day believes in giving people second chances, and if Kevin Owens had wanted a shot, all he had to do was ask. Kofi throws out a challenge for Money in the Bank. Owens then comes out and accepts. He says Kofi winning at Mania was a great moment, but moments pass, and neither the fans nor Kofi himself think Kofi is championship material. Xavier attacks KO from behind, but gets laid out with a super kick. Kofi runs up the ramp, and KO runs away. KO's promo was good, but this was pretty meh, and my reason for it being pretty meh is that I don't understand why they felt the need to tell us 16 times exactly what had happened over the past few weeks. They're treating their audience like idiots and showing everything over again. So we wasted a good 10 minutes recapping what we already knew. And I can see you, and I know what you're going to say about Xavier attacking KO from behind, but I didn't mind it.
No. A babyface doesn't attack someone from behind. Not someone like Xavier Woods. I get him being angry, and I get him coming out and grabbing his arm and turning him around and like trying to punch him in the face. Totally get that. Don't run up and attack him from behind.
KO tried to end his career last week in storyline.
Yeah. But he's a babyface, Adam. Yeah. He's a babyface. He's a good guy.
I consider him, well, I was going to say I consider myself
They don't
to be
do
a
shades of
babyface
grey, Adam. They don't do shades of grey. It's black and white in WWE because they have no way of writing a coherent story that's shades of grey.
I just didn't mind it. But I do get where you're coming from, but it didn't bother me. So Kofi turns to Xavier backstage and tells him he's still hurting from last week and should stay backstage. Kofi has things under control. Next up, we had Becky versus Bayley. Before the match, they announced Bayley as the first SmackDown competitor for the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I like the more aggressive side Bayley is showing recently. They battle back and forth, trading control of the match as the crowd is into everything they do. They both go for a lariat and just beat the count. Bayley goes for a roll-up, that gets 2. She hits a Saito suplex, but when she goes for the top rope elbow, Becky gets the knees up and then locks on the disarm her for the submission. Victory. Charlotte lays out both women after the match. This was a ton of fun, but I don't get why they gave this match away for nothing SmackDown.
Totally agree.
Especially in a match that didn't really actually affect anything.
No, it was a decent match, and they're both very capable, and it's nice to see Bayley having some better matches again, but why?
Like, say Becky's not champ if this was a number one contenders match. I wouldn't have minded so much of them doing it on SmackDown for free, but the idea of giving this match away when it's the only 4 horsewomen match we've not seen done to death.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, why was this sort of just thrown out there just for nothing? Because Becky, if she retains the SmackDown Women's Championship, which I probably think she drops it to Charlotte at Money in the Bank, but if she does retain it, she's going to need somebody else to face.
And Bayley would be perfect.
And Bayley would be perfect for that. So why give it away on
and
free TV?
And maybe a Bayley heel turn or something like that.
In a nothing match. I mean, I thought this was a really good match.
Yeah.
The crowd absolutely loved it and were so into the match. Easily the most into anything there were on either show, really, from a match perspective. So it was good, but why?
Yeah, agreed.
So
it's like everything this week.
Yeah, true.
Why?
We get an Aleister Black promo where he talks about the power of fear. He says it's in our nature to fear what we don't understand, and by the time his opponents figure him out, the ref has counted the pin. Black says when his opponents look into his eyes, they see into the abyss and see something about themselves they don't want to see, and then they fade to black. So apparently Aleister Black's a grim. Okay. This was okay, better than last week, but still lacking compared to his NXT pre-tapes.
They just don't get him, do they?
No.
And we were worried about this, they wouldn't get him.
The content of the promo was better and more felt like Aleister Black this week, but still, like, the atmosphere and ambience, he doesn't feel like as dark and mysterious a character, without the background music and without the smoke and the lights and all that.
Yeah.
Everything about that was what made him great in NXT. That's what made him stand out. That's what made him different. That's what made him a compelling character. Taking that away from him risks not making him a compelling character. And Aleister Black deserves better than that.
Hunter gets it.
He does. So the Hardys are out next, and Jeff is on a crutch. Kayla is in the ring with them and asks them what is going on. Well, Kayla, Jeff's on a crutch.
Duh.
So Jeff shows a video package of Lars Sullivan, which includes his attack on the Hardys. So storyline-wise, Jeff's injury is Lars's fault. Jeff says he needs surgery and will be out for a long time, so Matt says they are vacating the tag titles. Jeff says this is not the end for the Hardys, but before he can finish, Lars comes out. He hits the freak accident on Matt before turning his attention to Jeff. R-Truth makes the save with the steel chair, but Lars no-sells it. Truth swings again, but Lars simply punches the chair. He hits the freak accident and a Liger bomb on Truth. I thought this was good. It was a good way to sort of blame Jeff's injury, as sad as Jeff's injury is. A good way to transfer that heat to Lars. And Truth coming out to make the save made sense. And then Lars destroying him also made sense. Everything with this was fine.
Totally agree. Good segment. Probably one of the better segments on WWE TV this week.
Mm-hmm. We find out Ali, Balor, Andrade and Orton are SmackDown's representatives in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Asuka and Kairi defeated two jobbers. The Iconics were on commentary and were absolutely fantastic. They were so entertaining. It's the type of thing where if you find the Iconics annoying and grating, you will have hated them on commentary because they were 110% themselves.
They are annoying and grating, but that's what's great about them.
I absolutely loved it and I thought they were great. They refused to talk to Tom Phillips. They refused to answer any questions from Byron Saxton, but they would have a full-fledged conversation with Corey Graves. It was just everything about them. I just like
they're just like children, aren't they? And the way they go on, it's basically
fantastic.
like their gimmick is like they're just children.
So it was a pure showcase for Asuka and Kairi, and they showed off like some really good tag team work. Considering they've not been together very long, they're already shown quite good chemistry together. And sort of Asuka hit a Scorpion Death Drop before Kairi hit the insane elbow for the win.
Absolutely fine. Like absolutely fine. Exactly what they should be doing at this point.
So backstage we see Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose watching on. One of them is getting a spot in the Women's Money in the Bank match. Mandy tries to trick Sonya into giving it to her by being nice and saying Sonya should have it, but Sonya sees through it but says it should be Mandy anyway, and they hug. Why are these two heels?
No idea.
This was such a touching segment between two heels.
Yeah.
Like, I get that you've got to have a reason why Mandy's in and Sonya's not, but like
don't make them likable.
Don't make them likable.
Like, that's the whole. They're bad people.
Yeah.
That's literally the whole point. Bad people, on the whole, don't do good things.
So I don't know whether you've noticed, but up until this point, SmackDown's been pretty good. That's about to change.
It's been alright.
Compared to
Relatively.
Raw, this has been Oscar-winning level of good.
I'm pretty sure we could put some like rope out in the backyard and put on a better wrestling show than Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. So, but I was kind of enjoying the show up to this point. We had a couple of good matches, a couple of good sort of segments, promos and stuff like that.
We've reached the cliff.
Yes, and we're about to drive off it. So Roman Reigns is out next, and we get a recap of his feud with the McMahons. He says he is still the big dog, and SmackDown is his yard now. Shane comes out and makes Greg introduce him as the best in the world. Shane says the McMahons own the land, and they trade barbs about attacking each other. Roman challenges Shane to come down and beat him down without Elias. Shane refuses, but says plenty of people in the back want to make an impression. He brings out the B team and says Roman will face them in a handicap match with Elias as special guest referee enforcer. Whatever the hell a special guest referee enforcer is.
Words. Let's put some words in and we'll make a roll.
So it's Roman versus the B team, and I'm not going to sort of give this all the sort of recap it would need because it sucked. So Elias is in a referee shirt on the outside, but Kyoto is refereeing the match. This went on forever, and my God was it boring. Mercifully, eventually, Roman fought back and took out both men. He hit a Superman punch on Axel, but it only got two as Elias pulled the ref out of the ring. Reigns chases Elias, but eats a post, and Axel follows up with a perfect plex. Elias slides in the ring and becomes the referee and counts, which I guess he can do. But
special guest referee enforcer.
But in my hated wrestling trope number 6 this week, he doesn't fast count him.
Yeah, he's the heel.
He's literally pulled the referee out the ring to prevent him from winning. He's got Reigns to go into a post. He's sent him back in the ring. Axel's hit the perfect plex. Fast count the guy.
No, it's got to be
You're
fair.
You're already cheating. But why does it become a point where you don't fast count?
No, you've got to be fair.
Why is that the line?
No,
This match is not being fair at all from the start.
It's the line in the sand, okay? Like, you know, all of the other things are really, really bad, but, like, God forbid you should fast count, because that would make you a really bad person. Logic. Reasons. Let's go with reasons. Let's go with that, and then that makes sense then.
Why?
Insert reasons here.
Yeah. So this allows Roman to kick out at 2. Roman fights back and hits a Superman punch on Axel for the win. This thoroughly and utterly sucked.
Yeah. Move on quickly,
Yeah.
please.
So next up we had Mustafa Ali and not Mustafa Ali.
Ali.
I will remember this.
Yeah.
Ali and Balor versus Andrade and Orton.
He lost his first name, mate.
Andrade cut a promo before the match, burying his opponents and telling Orton to tag him in so he can learn from Andrade. The heels isolated Ali for a while, but a dropkick on Orton allowed him to finally get the fin. Balor ran wild and sent Andrade to the floor. There was a really cool spot while sort of Balor set up for a Torticon Hello, and Ali just came out of nowhere to hit a suicide dive at exactly the same time to the other side of the ring on Orton. It was really, really cool. Zelina distracts Finn though, and this allows Andrade to hit the corner double knees for 2. Ali made a blind tag and Balor hit the sling blade on Andrade, then Ali followed with the 450 for the win. I missed the 054, but this was really fun. Like, it only went like 7-8 minutes, but it was super fun sprint. All 4 guys are really good. Like, Orton's good when he wants to be, and he did in this match.
Yeah.
And the other 3 are just super, super talented workers, and this was just a ton of fun. And post-match, Orton laid Balor out with an RKO, and Ali then super kicked Orton out the ring to stand tall.
Do you think we're going to get some kind of multi-man then instead, rather than just Balor, Andrade?
Well, all 4 guys are in the Money in the Bank ladder match, so I guess that's on.
Of course.
I guess
Why
Balor, Andrade is on hold for a while. Possibly the following pay-per-view. But I wouldn't surprise me to see if the briefcase goes to a Raw guy, and there's not like briefcase matches happening all the time, which they seem to like to do. If that's the case, then I could see these 4 in some kind of multi-man situation for the IC belt.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'd be all for that.
That'd be really good.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So Sarah Schreiber is backstage to introduce the final 2 SmackDown participants in the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. First, Ember Moon. She says the Money in the Bank ladder match changes careers and she's going to seize this moment. Carmella steps up and reminds us that she technically won the first 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. And this year she's going to remind everyone why Mella is money.
No, she won't.
No, she won't. But this was fine. The KO show is our main event segment. Owen says he is the show. He says Kofi is in way over his head, and at Money in the Bank, Owens will relieve him of that burden when he wins the WWE Championship. Xavier Woods is supposed to be his guest, but he doesn't show, so Owens produces a Xavier action figure. He brings out a bandaged Big E action figure too. He kicks them over, and he knows exactly what they think. Before he can go any further, Kofi runs down the ramp and they brawl. Kofi beats the hell out of Owens until KO rakes the eyes and escapes through the crowd. I loved the intensity Kofi showed here. This is what has been missing from Kofi Kingston for me since he's won the title.
Mania, yeah.
I love Kofi. I think he's a great worker. Him winning at Mania was awesome, but he comes out and I know...
Happy-go-lucky all the time.
We always say, just because somebody gets a push to a main event level or turns and becomes either a babyface or a heel, contrary to what they were before, you don't need to change everything about them. And I stand by that. But the fact that Kofi's out there as WWE champion, he's got his pancakes, he's doing all the usual New Day skit stuff. It didn't feel right to me. And him coming out here and just beating the ever-loving hell out of Owens and sending him over the announce table and showing some real good intensity, I thought was great.
Yeah, you can be light-hearted, but then you can go too far and become a little bit of a joke. Like Rock always was able to just get that line between being light-hearted and being jokey, and then being serious when he needed to be, and that's exactly where that's the line Kofi needs to find. I like the segment. I thought it was really, really good, actually, and a good way to end an up and down SmackDown.
Yes, definitely. With the downs very, very,
very down.
So
speaking of,
I thought it was an okay episode of SmackDown, same as you. It was significantly better than Raw, but it would have been hard not to be. It had some high points, some average stuff, and a couple of really low moments, but it was fine overall, I thought.
I couldn't agree more with you. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of downs.
Yes, so SmackDown this week averaged 1.83 million viewers this week, which was the lowest since the brand split.
That's bad.
Restarted 3 years ago.
It's bad. That's really, really bad.
So a 12% drop from last week and a 25% drop from last year. It still retained 85% of Raw's audience, which just goes to show how bad Raw's number was.
Yeah.
If numbers continue to decline, then I'm going to say when it goes to Fox in the autumn,
It'll be at 1.5.
I give it 6 weeks before Fox take it off Fox and put it on FS1.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. If the numbers continue to decline this way and they don't get a massive boost just by being on Fox, then I think it'll take them 6 weeks to put them on FS1.
Ooh.
Can
Can you imagine the prestige hit that would be?
Oh, it would be bad.
Yeah. Well, just write better wrestling, for God's sake. It isn't that hard. It really is not that hard. We've done it. I know we're obviously very confident in our abilities to write professional wrestling, but we believe we can write good wrestling, and we're not paid to do it. Why can't they?
I'm not being funny, mate. It's not even us being sort of arrogant about how well or badly we think we write professional wrestling. I'm pretty sure you could give a 6-year-old the keys to Raw and SmackDown and they could probably do a better job.
Yeah, or at least as good.
It couldn't be worse.
Maybe that's what they're doing.
Well,
maybe it's just all crowdsourcing, and it's just all written by toddlers.
Or
that makes so much sense.
Or Vince is a 6-year-old.
Well, he's got the same sense of humour, but that really makes sense. Think about it. He's surrounding himself with people that have like-minded thoughts.
Right. Anyway, moving on. WWE NXT. So we opened with the Forgotten Sons versus Oni Locke and Danny Burch and Humberto Carrillo. This match obviously set up by the Riker Carrillo match from last week. I thought this was a fine match. It really started getting going when Burch got a hot tag and ran wild. He hit a German, some clotheslines and an enziguri. He then hit the missile dropkick and locked on a crossface, but Jackson Riker made the save. Humberto flew in to make the save and then accidentally took out Lorcan with a suicide dive. Burch was then left alone and fought, but they all swarmed him. Riker took out Carrillo as he came in, and they triple-teamed Burch and picked up the win. This was, for a Forgotten Sons match, this was pretty good.
I actually enjoyed this pretty much.
I didn't think it was good or great, but it was fine, and I thought it was a testament to Burch, Lorcan and Carrillo that this was as good as it was.
Yeah, that's my thoughts. Pretty much one of the best Forgotten Sons matches I've seen. I actually enjoyed this.
So we saw a video setting up the scene for Bianca versus Mia for next week, which will be really fine.
Yeah.
And it'd be a good learning experience for Bianca because Mia's a super experienced worker and she's very good at what she does.
Bianca's turning heel as well, isn't she?
I'd definitely get that.
Oh, very, yeah.
So next up we had Dominik Dijakovic versus Mansoor. So he went for the finish he did on the jobber a couple of weeks ago, the sort of cyclone kick, but Mansoor actually ducked it and avoided. But Dijakovic quickly took control and they traded strikes until Mansoor hit a Rana. He tried to get some upper hands, but Dijakovic just totally destroyed him after this. He hit strikes, hit a backbreaker and a splash for 2. He took things to the ground and then slammed Mansoor into the buckles. Mansoor tried to fight, but he flew into a super kick and Dijakovic hit a lariat and strikes before Feast Your Eyes picked up the victory. This went probably a little too long. Dijakovic gave the guy probably more than he needed to, but it was fine. Yeah,
I totally agree. I found it quite entertaining. I think maybe a little bit long, but not so much that I noticed, and it was fine. He got the win, and I'm quite enjoying the build of Dijakovic at the moment. So
man.
I like it.
And you know what as well? As much as I said I think he gave him too much, that's because of the trajectory I think Dijakovic's on. But I thought Mansoor actually looked good.
So did I. I liked it.
I'd be happy to see more of him on NXT.
Totally agree.
So Velveteen Dream arrives and shares the Dream's version of the national anthem.
Awesome.
The crowd loves Dream. What a shock.
Shock. So do we.
And he leaves on his couch with his ladies.
Just amazing.
We are getting Adam Cole, baby, versus Matt Riddle next week.
Oh, that's going to be good.
It's going to be good. Undisputed Era cut a promo claiming to be stronger than ever. All is well until Cole says, Roddy dropped the ball.
Dropped the ball. Great line.
And they argue. But Cole says he was just joking.
He was just joking. Of course he was. He wasn't.
Or was he?
No, he wasn't. Not at all. Not even, nothing that Adam Cole says is ever actually a joke. Never, not at all.
Yeah.
He's just poking the bear.
I hate the fact that they're working towards these 4 splitting up. But
they're doing it really well, aren't they?
They're doing it really well.
Yeah.
And everything about it's thoroughly entertaining.
Yeah. It's been really good so far. I don't want to see it, but I don't turn it off because I think it's entertaining and it's good.
So time for our main event of NXT. as Cassius Ohno took on Kushida. What do you think of Kushida's theme? I thought it was pretty cool.
I quite liked it.
Yeah,
it wasn't. It wasn't the New Japan theme, but I quite liked it.
Yeah, and I was worried about that because I loved his New Japan theme.
Yeah, and what do we think of this match, Adam?
I thought this was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I expected because it's Kushida and it's Cassius Ohno. It didn't go massively long. It was only
so
like
entertaining.
7 minutes, I want to say, something like that. But I thought it was really good for the 7 minutes they worked with. They worked sort of a ground game early, which was sort of played into both guys' strengths because Kushida is such a good mat worker and Cassius Ohno's Cassius Ohno.
Well, Kushida's got an MMA background as well, which adds to his style.
Yeah. So Kushida hit a basement dropkick, but Ohno countered the standing moonsault into a cravat, which was really cool. They worked into a standoff, and then Ohno just kicked him in the face and followed with a knee drop for 2. Ohno then laid in some chops, but Kushida fired back and springboarded in with a chop. He attacked the arm, obviously setting up for the finish, but Ohno cut him off with an electric chair facebuster for 2. A flatliner by Kushida, and then he hit a springboard Rana for 2. He followed with strikes and sort of mockingly shook Ohno's hand, which might be the most charisma I've ever seen come out of Kushida in his entire life.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. But Ohno cuts him off with an elbow at the back of the head. The running boot connects, but Kushida cuts him off with a big right, which did not get booed.
Well, because it's
not
okay.
Japan.
It's okay now.
Yeah. The PK follows and then he gets a hoverboard lock and Ohno taps.
Really, really entertaining match. For what time they had, they did everything that they could have with it. Mm-hmm. Really great first. I think Kushida's going to be a success in NXT. I really do. I think he'll be at the North American level fairly soon, and him versus Dream would be awesome. But Kushida, I think is going to be a big success, and this is a great this is one of the best first matches I've ever seen anyone have in NXT. That's just on the TV show rather than a takeover.
Yeah, totally agree.
Really
I thought this was a great show.
Yeah, really, really enjoyed it. NXT,
it's
great.
It's NXT.
It's always good.
It was. I don't know whether it was because I watched this directly after I watched SmackDown and Raw, but because I watched SmackDown and Raw on a bit of a delay this week. But when I watched this show, I was like, my God, this is so good.
I realise we haven't spoken about it yet, by the way. Do we give the Undisputed Era segment of the week yet?
Yeah, you could give it to that.
I'm trying to think, was there anything else? Have you got something in mind that's coming up, or?
No, I'm just thinking because I've completely forgot about segment of the week this week, and I'm just thinking if anything beats it.
That's why I'm bringing it up now.
So I do think we give it to the Undisputed Era. There was a couple of good things. There was a couple of good things on Raw and SmackDown that could have been considered, but it's been a really poor week, yeah. And we've got 205 Live coming next, but I don't think there's anything on there that was segment of the week.
Not segment-wise, yeah.
So we opened with the Lucha House Party versus the Sings, who've made their return to 205 Live after how long?
Ages.
Yeah, because they were originally on the show, weren't they?
Right at the very start.
Back before when I wasn't watching it.
Good though. Give them something decent to do other than be with Jinder.
Well, yeah, anything's an improvement over Jinder.
Hey, don't hinder Jinder.
Well, I try.
Actually, no, hinder him.
Yes.
Hinder him a lot.
Hinder him a lot. So this was a fun tag team match. They sort of worked back and forth early on. Samir sort of tagged in and kept things grounded, but Dorado finally managed to fight to his feet after a heat segment, and then he got cut off again. Dorado tries to fight again and takes out Sunil and looks for a tag. He cuts off Samir, but Sunil pulls Metalik to the floor. It was really good tag work from the Sings, actually.
Agreed. They're good.
Dorado hit a lethal injection and then tagged in Metalik. Metalik ran wild with the high cross, backbreaker and missile dropkick for 2. The super kick followed and then a sling blade. And he actually hit a better sling blade than either Rollins or Balor is capable of at the minute.
Yep.
So Dorado tags in and he eats super kicks and Samir covers for 2 as Metalik makes the save. Metalik tags back in and he hits the rope walk, elbow drop and Dorado hits the shooting star press for the finish. This was fine. It wasn't blow away good. But it only went more. 10 minutes, but it was fun.
Yeah, and I'd like to see more from the Sings. I thought it was pretty good, and I've always known they had talent. And if they're going to be on 205 Live more moving forward, I'll be in big support of that because they're talented. They're just lumbered with the vacuum of charisma and overness and wrestling ability that is Jinder Mahal. Former WWE champion.
Totally agree. So Drake Maverick is backstage with Humberto Carrillo, and he warns him to stay away from Drew Gulak. Carrillo just wants to show that he belongs, and Jack Gallagher arrives and congratulates Carrillo on beating Gulak. He then says they have unfinished business. Now, what does that mean? Could go many different ways.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
I like that, though.
So, Mike Kanellis attacks Brian Kendrick on the way to the ring. Akira Tozawa makes the save and just beats down Kanellis until Drake Maverick puts a stop to it. And we found out later that we're getting Tozawa versus Kanellis, I believe, in a no DQ match last week. That wasn't on the show, but I've seen that on social media. So Arya Daivari cuts a promo and says things are going according to plan. He is still undefeated in 2019 and he's beaten some big names in Akira Tozawa, Cedric Alexander and now Oni Lorcan. And he will beat Tony Nese and become Cruiserweight Champion. I really hope that is not true.
No, I would really like that not to happen.
Yeah. Speaking of our champion, he was in our main event tonight facing Drew Gulak. Gulak grounded things early and attacked the arm. Nese escaped and hit a knee strike for 2. He looked for the running Nese, but Gulak avoided it. Nese followed with kicks. The Enziguri and springboard moonsault followed for 2. Gulak countered into a Gulak and they spilled to the floor. Nese attacked, slamming Gulak into the steps in the barricade. They worked up top and Gulak hit the sort of Dean Malenko style gutbuster for 2, which was nice and ironic given Dean's just left. He followed with strikes. Nese fired back and laid out Gulak. He headed up top and the 450 missed. Gulak by Gulak, and then Nese is down and fights and rolls and counters into a cover for 2. The German to the buckles followed, and then the running Nese was cut off with a lariat for 2. Nese countered the powerbomb though, hit a super kick, and another German to the buckles, and the running Nese finished things. This was really, really good.
Of course it was. It was always going to be between these two. Some great back and forth and just really good finish as well. Like, absolutely fantastic.
As usual, a thoroughly enjoyable episode of 205 Live.
Yep, it's amazing how the two that Vince will focus on less, like the two shows that Vince won't care about, are easily the two best every single week.
I wonder if that's a coincidence.
There must be a pattern there, right? Like, there must be. Or that Hunter's involved with much, much more as well.
And with that, I think it's time we move on to any other business. So we already spoke about the New Japan show from this morning with Okada retaining the title against Sonata and Tomohiro Ishii getting a big win over Evil was the only other major thing on the show.
That's
really
cool for Ishii.
El Phantasmo was revealed today to be the X, which I think we all knew he was in Bullet Club. And also, they've been doing another promo for X, and I haven't seen the show yet, so I can't confirm this, but I thought the X that was El Phantasmo, but it turns out that El Phantasmo is the new Bullet Club member, but it looks like X is not coming until June 5th at Best of the Super Juniors. And there was something about it maybe being a time bomb. So is that Hiromu's return date? Like I say, I haven't seen the vignette from the show yet, but...
X for who?
Well, X... Just
being... I thought you were saying as in with Bullet Club. I got really confused.
No. What I meant was the X we always thought was Phantasmo and was going to be, and obviously Phantasmo in Bullet Club.
Yeah.
But it turns out that Phantasmo is in Bullet Club, but he's not the X.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Oh, I cannot wait for that.
Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. Like I say, I haven't seen the show yet, so can't confirm.
Fingers crossed.
In the review I read, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, everything crossed for that one.
But we've also had another big New Japan show. So Dragon Lee defeated Taiji Ishimori to retain the junior heavyweight belt in what was said to be an awesome match. But I haven't seen that show yet either. But the only other big match saw Taichi sadly defeat Jeff Cobb to win the Never Openweight Championship. Apparently the match was a lot better than you'd expect the Taichi match to be.
Taichi can wrestle. He can.
I'm not sure I've seen it.
He can. He used to be able to.
He had a bad match with Hiroki Goto.
Yeah, before you started watching, back in like 2009 and stuff, I was very confident in Taichi's ability to wrestle pretty well. I don't know what happened in spells in between.
So the date of the next NXT takeover has been announced for the 1st of June, but we have no location as of yet. This will be announced on Monday on Hunter's social media. The event was originally planned to take place in San Jose a week later, but the 7th of June Saudi show has changed things.
Yes, for Saudi Arabia, helping as always.
And we're not the type of people to not recommend other people's podcasts on our own because we're not we're worried you're going to listen to them and not us. We just recommend things we think are cool.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to recommend is Jimmy Jacobs has started his own podcast this week, and his first guest was Brian Danielson, who was referred to as such.
Brian, I thought that was weird as well.
it was a totally different style of podcast than I'm used to listening to, and almost felt like you were just eavesdropping on Brian and Jacobs
Just having a conversation. Yeah.
Just chat about life. Either way, it was awesome, and it's well worth a listen if that's the type of thing you're into.
And Jimmy Jacobs is awesome.
And with that, we will move to our final segment this week. We are running very short on time this week, so we're going to go with just a quick one. So I think we'll go with our favourite Goldberg moments. We're just going to do 2 each, and you guys can let us know what your favourite moments were. So I'll start off, and I think I'll go for the obvious one. The Georgia Dome, Goldberg versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan in 1998, when WCW had started to swing down, but was still really, really popular. And Goldberg beat Hogan, and it was just an immense moment. The crowd was absolutely berserk. It was just great. They built it on how many days' notice?
3 days' notice, 40,000 people came.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if they built it up over a week at a pay-per-view.
Goldberg's always said they'd have sold it out.
Yeah.
They'd have sold out the Georgia Dome as well.
Yeah,
because he was obviously from Georgia.
And it was for a Nitro. That wasn't for a pay-per-view. WWE doesn't run nowadays. Will run 18,000-seater arenas or 15,000-seater arenas for their pay-per-views. They only ever run anything bigger than that for Mania and maybe SummerSlam and maybe the Rumble. They ran a Nitro. They used to run 40,000 people.
They used to run the Superdome as well. WCW.
Just incredible on 3 days' notice. Just a great moment.
Right, I'm going to go for a WWE one actually, and I didn't really like his WWE run, but his debut on Raw when he came out to confront The Rock, that was just absolutely awesome. He got a huge pop. The crowd was belting out the chant of Goldberg. It was such a cool moment. Came out, speared The Rock out of his douchey leather trousers, and it was awesome.
Right, for me, I'm going to go for a bit of an obscure one. So one of my favourite, and it's almost more of a favourite Jericho moment than it is a Goldberg moment, but Jericho's feud with Goldberg, who was never there, was intrinsically entertaining to me, and him just continually cutting promos and saying he was 1-0 against Goldberg and 2-0 against Goldberg was hilarious. And then the segment I'm particularly talking about is the time that Goldberg actually tipped up, and he went out there and he destroyed Jericho. And you know what? If this had led to more, it probably would be way more fondly remembered.
Money? There was money in it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it didn't, because Jericho was a small guy and he had a ceiling, and he couldn't go over that. I mean, God forbid, when he went to WWE, he became, within 3-4 years, he was the undisputed champion.
The only man to beat Rock and Austin in the same
one night. Exactly.
He's never mentioned it since, which is what's good about Jericho as well. He never talks about
it. Leave the fact that it didn't go anywhere. This actual segment was a ton of fun, and I was really looking forward to seeing Goldberg versus Chris Jericho in a match, and I was disappointed we never got it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with another of his title wins from WCW, but it's going to be the US title win against Raven. The match itself wasn't anything out of this world, but Raven, sort of making that first real step up the ladder was just brilliant. He was good as US champion, obviously moving up to being double champion when he beat Hogan, first guy to do that, I believe. And it was just absolutely brilliant. And at that point, Goldberg was so cool that you totally ignored all of his things that he couldn't do. It was the classic accentuate the positives. They did what
they
he was good at.
Did. Yeah, they really made him look good at what he did and shied away from what he wasn't good at.
Yeah, if he's not good at stuff, it's classic wrestling booking, right? If they're not good at stuff, don't make them do it. So yeah, I'd go with those two.
Right, well, let us know your favourite Goldberg moments, and with that, I think we will end the show for this week. We will be back next week, as usual, with our usual regularly scheduled podcast, sort of. And is there anything you'd like to add before we go, Jonathan?
No, I've got nothing to add.
Sorry, we're out of time. We will see you next week on the Two Man Booth.